Hi, Erica. Welcome to the Window Gallery. My name is Anne Franzi of Fraz & Company, and I'm here to assist the retailers in trying to give them ideas and inspiration as to how to put a window together. In this area, it's all about inspiring the retailer and helping them create some wonderful ideas with the product that's at the show. In this particular window, I use this as my inspiration. It's a wonderful picture depicting a great sailing scene with the waves and the splashes, and what I decided to use was incorporate some of the great product that I have here from our exhibitors in creating this wonderful window.
Do you normally start off with an inspirational shot? Do you teach retailers and exhibitors to do the same when they're trying to conceive a display?
Pretty much. I try to, when it comes to inspirationals, everybody has a different source that inspires them. In this particular case with me, it was the ocean and sailing. A lot of the times when they want some ideas for windows, it's creating a theme. And if they go ahead and start with that theme, it's easier to go ahead and create ideas in terms of props, what product you're going to use, and that'll assist them as well
great.
too.
Okay.
All right. So what I decided to do is to incorporate some height in this window and also try to create a focal point for the retailer to take a look at, so that they in turn put these ideas into their windows, the viewer will be able to see exactly how it starts from beginning to end in terms of where their eye should start in visual and where it should end, so they can catch the whole character of the window.
So in this case, the lifesaver is the focal point of the display, and then from there they'll go down?
That's right.
Okay, perfect.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an element to another element, and these are great little tabletops that can be purchased at a hardware store.
So you can just buy those pre-cut like that?
Pre-cut, unfinished. If you decide that you want to go ahead and finish them, you can do that yourself, but I like to keep it more of a natural look because it is a nautical theme, and the whole idea is to keep the backdrop neutral so that the product stands out. That's where the color is happening.
So is that sort of a rule in most displays? The background should be neutral?
Not
or
necessarily.
Just this one?
I think in this particular one, because there's you know, you associate the raw wood and I guess with the texture of the burlap, more of a natural look. That's what I wanted to create, and then keeping it neutral, although you can find different colored fabrics, but my focus is on the product.
Okay. And I guess too, coming back to the inspirational shot, that really helps you figure out what sort of wood tones or fabrics that you would find in a typical ocean sort of theme.
You think of shells and the rocks and that kind of thing. So it all complements and just enhances the whole nautical theme. So what I've done here now, I've got my elevations. So what I want to do again is make sure that the viewer starts in this area, and what they're going to do is find that their eye is traveling throughout the whole window. So the product that I picked is specifically to do that. So what I'm going to do is add some of these beautiful lighthouses. Again, starting with the tallest at the back. That's what you want. You want the height at the back, and the shorter, smaller pieces at the front. That way you're able to see the pieces at the front and still get some height with the pieces at the back of the display.
But you're going to be creating sort of an S movement. Is that what you're doing?
There's a couple of different patterns. It's not going to be busy. There's a couple little display patterns throughout the window, but the important thing is that the groupings are tight and together. They're not too spread out, so it's not confusing to the viewer.
Yeah.
And then another lighthouse that I will be adding, and this one here too. So again, there's a little pattern that's being created here, what they refer to as a zigzag, right here. So what I want to do is just create a little bit more height at the back. Just maybe raise this up a little bit. And I'm going to use some of our plexiglass risers. And I'll just sneak in here.
You want more of a difference between the height, more of a dramatic difference?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. So, and then still making sure that you get to see a little bit of the detail. You know, make sure that you see the front of the object. And the colors work really great. They're traditionally the nautical colors, the blue, white, and red. And there we go. So I'm kind of happy with that nice tight grouping. And now what I want to do is add some of the sailboats. And they're beautiful. They're quite detailed. And of course, they blend beautifully with the whole nautical theme. So we have this one that's more of a neutral palette there with the browns, and the one that I'm going to place in front has some color to it, and of course all the nautical, the blue and the red. Now this isn't the way to do it. What you want to be able to do is see the one in back, because there's all this beautiful detail. So what I'm going to do is add another riser to give it some height and also to be able to see the product as well. So let me see if I can sneak in here. Excuse me, I'll just place this right in here. So now it's a little bit more visible, and I'm just going to bring this to the front, and you'll find that as you're putting a window display together, and I mention this to the retailers all the time, it's important to stand back and take a look at it and make adjustments at that point instead of waiting to the very end and going ahead and changing things around. So I'm just going to just make a few little adjustments just to ensure that the product is visible. Okay, I'm okay with that. So what I'm going to add is this unique piece and place it right about here. Some wonderful detail, and of course it all works with this nautical theme. A lot of the retailers ask, when do I know I'm putting too much product in the window? And basically it's try to keep it simple. If you're working with more than one supplier, try to keep each supplier grouped together. In this case, the lighthouses are grouped together. You have the sailboats and this piece on its own. So I'm quite happy with that. You get nice pattern happening through the window as well too.
Yeah, it looks great. And there's still more to come.
There's still more to come. We have to fill this space up right here, and of course it's keeping in with the same theme. So what I'm going to do now is add some other products, some books and some CDs. The customer who loves this type of product is definitely going to love to read about the sea and the boats and the ships, that kind of thing, and also listen to the beautiful music. So what I'm going to do is create a display with these pieces right here. And again, you can create very nice clean stackings.
That's a great idea. It incorporates cross-merchandising into your display and add-on purchases.
It's a great way to just be able to show what else works with that product, and exactly cross-merchandising. It's very important when you're, especially when you're doing themed windows. You want to make sure that you have everything that complements and adds character to that whole window, and it all relates to one another, so it's terrific. Now I think what I'm going to do is use this little stand that will assist me in keeping my book standing up nice and straight.
Where can retailers and exhibitors find all these little risers and different props that you've been using?
Well, at the gift show there's some great exhibitors that do carry some of the Plexi products, and they're listed in the exhibitor's guide, so you can go ahead under resources and they're all right there for you.
So they sell to both wholesalers and retail accounts?
Yes, they do.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And they have quite a range, like different size risers and the plate stands. It's perfect. Now what I'm going to add is the other book as well too, and create still grouping. It's all together. And just again add the CDs and keeping it very simple. You don't want to overdo it.
It does take time to put together a nice display. People shouldn't get discouraged if it doesn't come together. And
no, and you know what it is too. I mean, when you're working with themed products, it's preparation is always important. So get your product together. Once you have your theme figured out, take a look in your store, see what you have that will definitely really complement what you're thinking in terms of themes, and just take it from there. I guess the whole idea is to have fun with it as well too. That's important. What I'm going to do as well is add this wonderful, this is really nice too. I've gone more of a classic traditional look up here, but down here, a little more on the whimsical side. I love the scenery painted on the little fish here, and it's just beautiful. So I'd like to incorporate that. The colors are great.
So it's okay to mix different styles in the same display?
You know what? I think it's absolutely okay to do that as long as you keep the groupings together. Now what I want to do, of course, we're talking about display patterns, so you want to height at the back, and of course...
And always work that way from highest to lowest?
Highest
Is
to
that
lowest.
a general rule?
Well, you know what, and I'll show you. If you did something like this,
yeah,
you wouldn't be able to see the product, first of all, and it's not a very appealing display. So you want to just play around with it a little bit. Again, highest to lowest, and there you go. All right. Now I think what I've done before too is that little riser, so I just may add, maybe, let's take a look and see. Play around with it a little bit more. And stand back and take a look, make sure that the height is right. And there we go. Okay, and I'm quite happy with the way that looks. You can see the product, and it's all grouped together nice and tight.
Is that another key, a tight grouping, opposed to having things spread apart?
So, because even when you start doing this, now negative space is good too. It's just how you do it. You're taking up a lot of space.
And you're not saying very much.
No, you're not. Whereas if you group them together, it's a tighter grouping, and it has, I believe, more impact. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with that. So now what I'm going to add to texture, again, neutral background, are these great bumpers, and they're perfect. Again, part of the nautical story that we want to create. And we have different sizes. You don't want to use two of the same size because, again, very flat. If you add the small one up at the front, a little bit different shape, and of course, smaller at the front, taller at the back.
Okay.
And repetition. You see it down here as well too. All right, and that's important when creating a display as well.
So some of the things we've covered so far are keeping the suppliers together, keeping light merchandise together, starting with height.
Yes.
Always the highest at the back, the lowest at the front, and cross merchandising.
Yes, exactly. I think that's very key what you've just said there. And again, if you want your product to be the most important, if you want your product to be the focal point, then make sure that your background is neutral.
Okay, great.
All right. And now what I'm going to add, now we're going to have some fun with this window too. We're going to make it come to life. And when you're working with inanimate objects, what can you do to make it really come to life and have fun? So I've got some great little pieces here that I can work with. And we can incorporate those into the display. Why not? It'll be fun. And then I can add.
Are these products like decorative accents that are for sale, or are they things, sort of props you keep on hand?
Keep on hand. You can make them very easily. Get some of the twine. You've got your little bits of wood here, and there you go. Okay. Now there's a reason why these are here, because we have our little feathered friends to add into the display. Again, creating a little bit of life in here as well too. And still, it's not conflicting with this line. It's a little bit lower so that you're still able to do this as well too. Okay.
And it's also the same sort of finish on the bird as on the.
It's that
Okay.
rustic kind of look, which suits beautifully with what's right over here as well too, and just the texture and everything just complements very nicely with the neutral background as well too. And now what I'm going to add are some of the natural grasses to the window, because when you think about it, there's a little bit of greenery, a little bit of the grasses, and you don't want to place the green grass throughout your whole window. It becomes a little bit too confusing. You want to make it very clean and simple to look at.
And of course, you don't want to see the styrofoam coming through the display
No,
either.
you don't. And actually, I should mention, the styrofoam is a great little tip when you're trying to secure it, because what happens is when you purchase this from your floral supplier, usually there's another 6 inches added to this. So you just snip that off. You don't need that. Add it to your little foam. You place it in the background. In this case, you don't see it. But if I was to have glass on the sides of my windows, I would definitely cover that up.
Okay.
You don't want to see any of your foam. And I do have another element that's coming into the window that, if that was the case, it would definitely do the job in covering that foam up. That's important. All these little details make a big difference. So what I'm going to do is just add my grass right into the robe area here. And that way it's secured. And you know what? No foam, you won't even see it. Just right back in there. There we go.
So you've only used the grass in 3 places, and again, it's sort of this repetition and coming through, and it looks beautiful. You're right. It really does bring the display to life. Just that little bit of greenery.
And you know what? There's more to come.
Oh,
what I want to add is this noisy but wonderful gravel.
now where do you get that? The garden center?
This is from the pet store.
Oh,
But it's not. It's what you would put in an aquarium. Not your typical gravel that you would see. It's a little bit thicker.
oh, great.
Right, chunkier, and the color is perfect. It's neutral. It works great with the shells, the rocks, the whole backdrop. So what I'm going to do is place this around the display, just adding a little bit more life to it as well. You don't have to cover up every bit of space. Negative space is good, but I'm going to add around the bumpers and around the display area here, and you'll see it makes a little bit of a difference. The nice thing with the gravel, still would like to add some more, is that you can actually shape it with your hands. So what you can do, which is kind of fun, is create some movement. And
Almost like a shore, a beach.
Yeah, just by shaping it with your hand, and you can create a little bit of a wave pattern. Or if you choose to just leave it like that, you can do that as well too.
Looks
Gives you
great.
the option. And of course, when we're doing something like this, we always think of seashells and things that you'd find along the shore. So what I'm going to add are some really pretty starfish. Now people would think to go ahead and maybe add different types of shells and that kind of thing. But to keep the window, I guess, simple and the focus still remaining on the product is just sticking with one type of a shell. So what I've decided to do now is add some of these starfish, and there's a variety of starfishes and shells out there, but what I wanted to do is keep it simple and just make sure that there's only one type of shellfish that would kind of complement the backdrop. And of course, being neutral, it works very well. Again, I'm just kind of being a little bit careful as to where I place. So you don't want a pile of shells here and there, but just to keep it simple. And of course, maybe add some back in here as well too. Now I also have some really neat textured rocks that I like to add as well with the shells.
Now there's a lot of props that went into this, the gravel and the starfish and the rocks, but this is something you could stow away into a prop box and use time and time again.
You know what, when you're spending money on props, never throw them out, always keep them. You never know when you're going to use them again.
Okay, great
I've used these several times, so it's always good to have them on hand and just keep them safe, stored away somewhere. And there we go.
I noticed that you left all the propping to the end. Is that something that you would generally do when putting a window together? You want to first get the product in and then start fiddling with the little things?
I think it depends what the prop is.
Oh,
if you're working with large pieces of prop, I think it's important that they go into the window first.
Okay.
And that way, I believe that works well in terms of placing your product in the window. In this case, the prop that I'm using is fairly small, so I can go ahead and work that around my product that's in the window.
What type of lighting is used in this particular window display?
Well, in this particular window, because of the setup, it's just like little pot lights, and I would probably recommend that if you're going to do this in your window display, that you have really decent, good quality lighting. It's important that if you want to highlight certain areas, that you can get the little spotlights, MR16s, and you can really focus in and zone in on certain parts of a window. But lighting is very important, and if the retailer does have a window display, and they spend so much time on, it's a shame that they have light fixtures that are burnt out. So it's important to have those bulbs replaced, making sure that the window is nice and bright.
But I mean, even these two lights shining down directly really make the display pop. And would that be a normal directional for the lights down, or would you have a combination of forward and?
I think it depends on the store setup. Depends if the store is an old model or if it's a newer renovated store. Some of them have their track lighting right in front of the glass, so they're able to redirect light in certain spots. In other cases, if the store is a fairly older one, they'll have something like this. I think the important thing is whether it's a newly renovated store or an older store, that you have sufficient lighting and that it's always, that once the lights are burnt out, that they're always replaced.
Okay, good, great.
Okay. Another interesting point that's been brought up by some of the retailers is, should they put little tags or price tags in each of the pieces that are in the window? I would definitely have to say no. There is a way of actually pricing your product and having it look really, really nice. I mean, you've taken the time to create a wonderful display. You don't want to take away by having all these little white tags all over the place. So a good suggestion would be to have a nice card, maybe about right here, or even at the front of the display. On the computer, you can have that typed out with the prices, and have that in a little inconspicuous corner of your display.
That's a great idea, because you also don't really want to encourage people to start touching the display as well, in case.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Remember, when it comes to product displays and merchandising, successfully engaging the customer is the key to effective selling. A great visual display gets them excited and involved with the product, provides a context in which they can view and interact with it, and may even answer some of their questions about it. To stay on top of what's new in product trends and merchandising, be sure to visit Storeworks at the next CGTA gift show, so you too can start showing off in style.